Shalom. All praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Kodesh. Double honors unto the apostles and elders of GMS, or the true leaders of Israel today, and salutations to all of the Akim who do this work in truth and sincerity, who risk their lives and their freedoms to do so, as well as the scattered Israelites who come looking like the heathen but are not, by way of their forefathers' seeds who are Israelite men. The true name of the Most High is Yahweh, and his son's name is Yahushai, and the Lord's holy chosen people are the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, as we're the ones who suffer under the curses in the book of Deuteronomy. My name is Akalia, and this video is about the prophecy of World War III, which is an end-time prophecy. Alright, and we're in that time, for sure, of these end-time prophecies coming to pass. Jacob's trouble, the mark of the beast, which is the microchip, World War III, etc. Okay, and everything that's happening in the world right now is speed racing towards the fulfillment of these prophecies. In the book of Revelation chapter 11 and verse 14, it says, the second woe is past, talking about World War II, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly, which is World War III, right? So World War III, the end of it is going to lead to the destruction of America, which is known as Mystery Babylon the Great in Revelation chapter 17. But before the destruction of America, where the missiles are launched to destroy it, the mark of the beast prophecy, which is a microchip, has to be fulfilled. That microchip has to be made mandatory worldwide. Okay, so look out for that when observing the times. Now, here it is. Russia announces Oreshnik missile mass production, and you know, Russia is a major part of this World War III prophecy. You have Russia, who has enlisted the help of the rest of the heathen. Russia is an Edomite power. The Edomites are these so-called white people. Then you have them against America and her allies, which America's allies consist of NATO and the EU, and also the state of Israel, which, by the way, something's going to be happening where America's own allies will also be shooting missiles at her, right? The whore, as it says in Revelation chapter 17 and verse 16, and the 10 horns, which is the European Union, which thou sawest upon the beast, which is NATO, thee shall hate the whore, which is America, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. Okay, so they're also going to aid in the destruction of America. So it's not only America's allies, but even her own, Salakia. It's not only America's enemies, but also her allies, which will eventually turn against her and shoot missiles at her. Okay, and right now what we're witnessing is that we're moving towards what this is spoken about in Revelation chapter 16 and verse 16. And he gathered them together into a place called in the Hebrew tongue Armageddon. Okay, so this is what's happening. This is why there's so much tension around the world regarding these world superpowers, as they call themselves. Okay, so Russia announces Oreshnik missile system. Let's play the video.
And Russian President Vladimir Putin has said that Moscow will deploy Russia's latest unstoppable missile. It's the hypersonic Oreshnik in Belarus. A weapon so fast and powerful it threatens to redraw the very map of security on NATO's eastern flank. This new Oreshnik hypersonic system, tested in Ukraine, will be soon deployed in Belarus. In essence, it now sits on NATO's doorstep, ready to rewrite the rules of war. Take a look at these images when Russia for the first time fired the new missile on Ukraine. These are the images from last November when Russian forces fired the experimental weapon at a factory in Dnipro that built missiles when Ukraine was part of the Soviet Union. Sitting alongside Belarus President Alexander Lukashenko near St. Petersburg, Putin made the announcement that the military has already selected deployment sites in Belarus for the Oreshnik intermediate range ballistic missile.
We have produced the first serially manufactured Oreshnik system, the first serial missile. It has been delivered to the troops. Now the production line is up and running. That's the first point. Second, our specialists and Belarusian military specialists have selected a site for future positions. Preparatory work is ongoing, and most likely we will be done with it before the year's end.
The weapon, repeatedly described by Putin as unstoppable, can reach speeds exceeding Mach 10, which has a massive range of over 5,000 kilometers. The name Oreshnik means hazelnut tree, a potential reference to its sub-munitions, which resemble clusters of hazelnuts. The missile is capable of carrying multiple independently targetable warheads, making interception virtually impossible by standard defense systems. While analysts argue that its impact may be overstated, its psychological effects are unmistakable. Russia is daring the West.
A missile of a slightly different kind, what's been used before, and it's seen because of the speed, and apparently it had also multiple independently targetable re-entry vehicles, so different payloads going into different directions, which meant that it had some similarities, of course, with an ICBM.
The Kremlin's message is clear. Nowhere in Europe lies beyond Moscow's instantaneous reach. Moscow's military doctrine now fuses Russian and Belarusian territory as a joint defensive space, effectively transforming Belarus into a forward operating base. With a range of 5,500 kilometers, Oreshnik can strike deeper into NATO territory. From Minsk, these missiles can strike Berlin, Paris, Warsaw, or London in mere minutes, demonstrating a threat that is both immediate and inescapable for Putin's adversaries. Putin has warned the West that Moscow could use Oreshnik, which can carry conventional or nuclear warheads, against Ukraine's NATO allies who allowed Kyiv to use their longer-range missiles to strike inside Russia.
Yeah, so this is all Bible prophecy, man. The development of these missiles, and as the dude said, he said these are likened onto ICBMs, intercontinental ballistic missiles. Okay, in the book of, I think it's Isaiah 54 and verse 16, it says, "Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work, and I have created the waster to destroy." So these missiles, man, have been created for a purpose, and they are to destroy America. All right, and as you can see, they're being developed. You know, they're going to eventually reach that stage, which I'm pretty sure that Russia already does have missiles that can reach America, because, you know, one thing that I realized was when the earthquake that hit Russia, the 8.8 earthquake hit Russia just the other day, this week, there was a tsunami warning for the west coast of America. And I was like, okay, because, you know, when you look at the world map, right, you look at the world map, but the fact that that earthquake in Russia, the 8.8, was able to, you know, they were on high alert in America on the west coast, it shows how close Russia is actually to America. You see what I'm saying? All right, but Russia, very important part in Bible prophecy regarding the destruction of America. And in Ezekiel chapter 38, it says in verse 2, "Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him." This is talking about the Russians as they dwell in that land today that Gog and Magog once dwelt. "And say, Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, Behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. And I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I'll bring thee forth, and all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor." So Yahweh Shemishah is going to put the spirit upon the Russians to go to war. Even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. So they will be going to war with an alliance. And you can take a look at their alliance by way of looking at the BRICS nations, BRICS. It says Persia, which that is Iran, Ethiopia and Libya, which are, you know, the so-called African countries with them, all of them with shield and helmet. Gomer and all his bands, the house of Togarma of the north quarters, and all his bands, and many people with thee. and that's talking about Turkey. All right. Be thou prepared, and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. So Russia's a guard unto its allies. All right. And then you can take a look at the situation between Iran and the state of Israel, for example, regarding that situation. There are many things that are going on regarding Bible prophecy, but Russia is very important, and the scriptures talk about it. They're referred to as the Medes. Let's go to the book of Jeremiah. Okay, so it says in Jeremiah 51 and verse 11, make bright the arrows, gather the shields. The Lord Yahweh hath raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes, talking about the Russians, for his devices against Babylon, which is America, to destroy it, because it is the vengeance of the Lord Yahweh, the vengeance of his temple. All right, so the arrows are those missiles, man, and those missiles are going to be destroying America. America is going to be destroyed by thermonuclear fire, okay? In Isaiah chapter 13 and verse 17, it says, behold, I will stir up the Medes, talking about the Russians, against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. Their bows also shall dash the young men to pieces. They shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb. Their eye shall not spare children. So those bows are the missiles, man. Because once those missiles are launched towards America, it's a done deal. It's finished. It's over. And this chapter, Isaiah 13, is talking about the destruction of America, right? It says, and Babylon, which is America, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency, shall be as when Yahweh Shemishai overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah, and Sodom and Gomorrah went out by way of fire. That's going to be the judgment for America, man, and it's coming. All right, and then, things are ramping up further regarding World War III. You have the mass production of these missiles, and you have the situation over there, where in America, where Trump was talking about Trump prepared for a nuclear war with Russia. All right, so this is just all, the spirit of Yahweh Shemishai pushing, this is just a flow of prophecy, you know what I'm saying, where we're seeing things happen that, contribute to the eventual manifestation of prophecy. Trump talking about being prepared for war with Russia, which this also falls into what Yahweh spoke about regarding the things that we will be seeing before his coming, right, before his return. And that includes wars and rumors of wars. It talks about that in Matthew chapter 24, right? Nation rising against nation, kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be earthquakes and pestilences and famines. Okay, so we're in that period of time right now because, things are happening, especially the development of that microchip, which is the mark of the beast. The microchip is actually already out there, both in the head and in the hand. You know what I'm saying? The technology is already out there right now. What they're doing is implementing the system to be able to allow it to work on a global and mass scale, where it is mandatory in order to live life in this world. Okay, so these are just the observations that are going on right now. And something else that happened was this: earthquake shakes New York City. Now, this was a 3.0, but there's something about whenever things start happening or are happening in Babylon the Great that you really have to take notice to it. You know what I'm saying? We are very close to the end of the rulership of the so-called white man, and it will end in the destruction of America, right? These are the times that we're in, man. Look at this. Maybe more to come. Well, surely, because it's a part of Bible prophecy that earthquakes are going to be happening, as it says to measure the time diligently. And the scriptures mention it twice regarding the end of this vile wicked kingdom, that earthquakes is a sign, and the frequency of them is happening more and more frequently. You know what I'm saying? Japan, just like 2 or 3 weeks ago, got hit with over 1,500 earthquakes or something like that. It's quite, it is the time. We're in fact in that time. So, you know, knowing that these things are happening and the kingdom of heaven is at hand, as it is written, repent ye, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. All right, but you know, this is just current update regarding these missiles, and that's what it is. With that, I'd like to say all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Shemishai Bashim Kodesh. Shalom.